Hey guys, how's it going? Danconia. Welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup 2020 Summer Showdown APAC Team of the Week. So for our Summer Showdown, we're gonna break up both Team of the Week, the Team of the Week into two Team of the Weeks, one for APAC and one for North America, because there's been a ton of great Overwatch on the show, as I'm sure you'll know, and the NA one should be really interesting, but the APAC one has been more difficult than the North American one. And the reason for that is the APAC one has been a lot more clear cut. And so it's gonna, I don't think people are gonna like it, but it's gonna be a little bit one-sided. Obviously we have Guangzhou Charge our winners and we have Shanghai Dragons as our runners up, but there's also been some decent play from other players as well. But there's definitely been some very standout people in certain roles. So let's talk about it then. We're going to start off with our supports. We're going to start off with our main support, our Brig player most of the time, to be quite honest. And I had a very big debate with myself because everyone in this role really has been consistent. So Slime for the Seoul Dynasty, he was really good against London. And he held his own against Shanghai, even though the Seoul Dynasty lost 3-0 to Shanghai. Li Gon of the Shanghai Dragons looked good against the Seoul Dynasty, but he didn't look outstanding against the Charge. Chara of the Charge looked decent throughout the week. I'm not going to lie about that. And New York Excelsior, Animo, again, really consistent. And then obviously we have Chengdu, we have Hangzhou, and we have London. And if I was to pick a Brig Lucio player that's done the best out of them, I'd probably say Sanguinar, but none of them have really stood out, and so I couldn't take any of them. But I was torn between Chara and Slime, and it's really difficult. I'm gonna go with Slime. Slime, from what I remember, only had one hiccup, and that was his positioning slightly on Blizzard World against London. That is the hiccup I remember Slime having, when he wasn't able to stun up, although on the GENJI when he was blading. But apart from that, his positioning was fine. He was pretty much where he needed to be every single time, and he was very, very consistent. Chara was also really, really consistent, but I want to give it to Slime. It's really closely contested, this one. You could really have either name in here. You really, really could. I haven't put Li Gon in here because I wasn't that impressed with Li Gon against Charge. I just wasn't. He didn't seem like he had the effect he usually has for the Shanghai Dragons. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Slime. But for the flex support, I have two names here, and flex support is a very stacked role normally. We have Jonak, obviously, of the NYXL, Highly of the London Spitfire. We have Badosin. Badosin actually did good for the Seoul Dynasty. We have Izayaki of the Shanghai Dragons, but I think Izayaki can be up and down, to be quite honest with you. But one player I think has been consistent throughout this weekend, and has actually popped off to a certain extent. He is great at keeping his team up. It is Shu of the Guangzhou Charge. He is an absolute backbone to this Charge team. When we talk about the Charge, we often talk about Happy, Eileen, Krong, the people that we see pop off in the kill feed. But Shu, they'd be nothing without Shu and to another extent Chara behind them. But Shu really stood out to me. He's he's having a fantastic season for the Charge, and it all culminated in this weekend where he, in my opinion, is the best. Demonstrated the best flex support play in APAC, and I think he was really, really good. But Badosin had his moments for the Seoul Dynasty, I'm not going to lie. Badosin did have his moments for the Seoul Dynasty, but he looked good against London. But against Shanghai, it was like, yeah, Izayaki looks better. So that's why I haven't included Badosin. Izayaki was good, but again, it seemed like Shu was getting much more value than Izayaki in the final. So this is why I've given it to Shu. And this is going to be a little bit of a trend, because we're going to move on to our off tank here. And there is no one else I can give it to. It's Krong. It has to be Krong. Krong is just phenomenal for the Guangzhou Charge. Now, I will give a mention to Void. Void was great against the Seoul Dynasty, and he was very consistent most of the time against the Charge, apart from one time where he got taken off the map by Rio on Well, actually. But that's the only thing I can think of where his positioning was a little bit weird. But Krong, he can carry fights, his fluxes are always good, his rocks are phenomenal, and he has to be the best flex, he has to be the best off tank in APAC right now. And he's right up there with the likes of Choi Hyoben, Hanbin maybe, Fury. I'm missing one. I'm missing a real obvious one, I think. And I can't remember who it is. Oh boy. I'm going to pay for that at some point. But, well, Void is up there, I suppose. But, Krong, the question I would ask is, where would this Guangzhou Charge squad be if they still had Hotbar and not Krong? And I think they wouldn't be anywhere near as successful as they are. Krong is definitely a contender for a lot of awards this season, and I have to give him the off-tank in this APAC Team of the Week. I just can't help it. Moving on to the main tank, though, and there was a very clear, obvious winner of this role. Now, before we get on to the winner of this role, I'm sure you can probably guess who it is. But before we get on to the winner of this role, Gesture did very well for the Seoul Dynasty, but again, it was against London Spitfire. It wasn't consistent going out throughout the week. Mano was up and down. Again, Mano hasn't been that impressive for the NYXL recently, I'm not going to lie. Rio, he stepped up for the Guangzhou Charge, but I still don't think he can compete with the best main tank in APAC right now. And I think we all know who it is. It's Fearless. So, Fearless is great pretty much on every tank he plays. And when we saw Fearless on the Winston on Watch on Gibraltar, he took over the game for the Shanghai Dragons. Yes, the Shanghai Dragons ended up losing the final, but when Fearless was able to play his comfort picks of the Reinhardt and the Winston, he looked phenomenal. But not only that, it's not that he looks bad on the Orisa, he's got a very serviceable Orisa, and he went toe-to-toe with Rio. But the matchup became a little bit closer. But when Fearless is on that Winston, when he's on that Reinhardt, I can't see a tank that competes with him in APAC right now. It's actually crazy how much he has improved since we last saw him in the league. And he's in this Team of the Week again. I'm sure people are going to keep picking up on the fact that Fearless keeps getting in Team of the Week. But yeah, and thankfully Shanghai didn't mess around by playing Stand 1 during this APAC tournament, because that would have been pretty frustrating if Shanghai had done that. But Fearless was definitely not the reason that Shanghai Dragons lost against the Guangzhou Charge. And I definitely think he was one of the standout players on the Shanghai Dragons. Not to say the Shanghai Dragons played massively poorly, because they didn't. But Guangzhou Charge were just better on the day. Fearless was definitely a standout player for the Shanghai Dragons this week. But this means we move on to our DPS, and one is very clear-cut, in my opinion, and the other is not so clear-cut. We're going to start off with our hit scan. So we're going to start off with the Ashe, the McCree, or the Widowmaker, basically, what we've seen this weekend. Sometimes a little bit of Sombra, but this was a little less clear-cut than the other role. So I want to mention Nene. Nene was very consistent for the New York Excelsior. Again, I don't think it was Nene that lost New York Excelsior the match this weekend. I think it was more the NYXL losing the tank battle and losing the support battle against the Charge. I think they were just better. Hotbar couldn't keep up with Krong, that's for sure. But I think Nene and Haxel really stood out for the NYXL this weekend, and I certainly don't think it's where their weakness lies. Also, I want to mention Lip. Now, we didn't see Lip a massive amount this weekend, but when we did see Lip, he looked really good for the Shanghai Dragons. DM looked good against the Seoul Dynasty, but he didn't look like he could compete with what the Guangzhou Charge could throw at him, because the Guangzhou Charge shut DM down very well, I must admit. And this is in part thanks to Happy. So Happy is going to get this. Happy is very good at picking up picks at very crucial times for the Guangzhou Charge. And Guangzhou Charge's DPS line right now is filthy. And yes, Happy might not be well, he was the biggest name. He was the biggest name for this Charge DPS, especially last year and entering this year. But he's kind of been overshadowed in this recent meta by Eileen. And he's still getting those headshots. He's still getting those picks when he's on the Widowmaker. He's still getting great value when he's on the Ashe. And this DPS line made the difference between the Charge and the Dragons. Happy got so much more value than DM did most of the time. And we're going to talk about our other DPS, because guess what? We're going to stick with the Charge here. And this is why I think that a lot of people are going to be triggered about this, because the second DPS is Eileen. And there are honourable mentions here for Prophet. Prophet was extraordinary against London Spitfire, but again, he didn't stand out when he was up against the Shanghai Dragons. Haxel did really good for the NYXL. I don't believe Haxel was the reason why NYXL did not do well in this tournament. I think it was mainly the tank line. But then we come to Fleta, and Fleta versus Eileen on paper looks really, really close. So when we come to Genjis, which is what these guys were playing, let's be honest, we see a ton of players pop off with blades. We've seen Architects pop off with a blade this weekend. We've seen Although the London Spitfire pop off with a blade this weekend. We've seen Haxel. We've seen Prophet. We've seen Prophet get a 5k against London. We've seen Haxel. We've seen Eileen. We've seen Fleta. We've seen tons of people pop off with blades. We haven't even entered NA yet. But that's Blade. What about getting value when you're not using the blade? Now, I have looked back at the footage, and when I look at that final, and when I look at Guangzhou playing New York, when I look at Shanghai playing Seoul, I look at it and I'm looking and I'm thinking, well, when not in the ultimate phase of the game, I see Eileen getting more value out of that Genji pick than Fleta. Fleta is not bad. By any means, he is not bad. But I believe Eileen gets more value. Now, I don't think Eileen is the best Genji in this league. I don't think he's even the second best Genji in this league. But in APAC, I think he is the best Genji. So that gives you an idea of what's going to go on tomorrow in the NA Team of the Week, which is an absolute, what a Team of the Week that is. I think the Team of the Week in NA is better than the APAC one. And I know there are 4 Guangzhou Charge players in this, and I could have had 5 if I'd put Char in over Slime. And that was honestly a 50-50. And some people might not like that. But these are genuinely the picks I think are best in their position from this weekend. I know it matches up with the fact that Guangzhou Charge actually won the bloody tournament, but it is genuinely what I think is the best team out of this weekend. I like when we have Team of the Weeks that are spread across loads of different teams. I think it's awesome. Especially recently, we've had some really varied Team of the Weeks, but I can't just say I'm going to give it to this person because they're not on this team, because I need a varied Team of the Week across different teams in the league. I can't do that. I have to go with, honestly, who I think was best in that position. And unfortunately, this week, that means that 4 of them are from the Guangzhou Charge. I can't argue with Krong and Eileen. Happy, I mean, you could make an argument maybe if we'd seen more of Lip, then we might have gone for Lip. But if DM had not got shut down so hard by Eileen and Happy in the final, then perhaps it would have been DM. Nene was really consistent, but Happy just got the most value in my opinion. I can't argue with Fearless. Again, obviously not of the Guangzhou Charge, but Fearless looks like the best main tank in APAC, and he still looked like the best main tank in APAC, even though that Shanghai lost against the Guangzhou Charge. Shu, again, was really good. Iziaki had his ups and downs. So, bear with me on this, and I'm sorry that it is 4 Guangzhou Charge players, but I just think that they were that darn good. And I think in coming weeks we will see much more variety anyway, because, well, it depends, I suppose. Looking at the schedule, could be a rough one for London, so we might not see London Team of the Week for a while. But yeah, this is my team of the week for APAC during the Summer Showdown. It's Slime, Shu, Krong, Fearless, Happy, and Eileen. But this isn't the best team of the week in my opinion. The NA team of the week will be the best team of the week because my goodness me, did some players really step up in NA. Can't argue with it. Can't argue with it. They've been fantastic. But I'm going to leave it here for this one. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.